So we're here at Light Gives Heat in Grand Junction, and I'm just so excited to meet Dave and Morgan Haslow and the founders of Light Gives Heat. And so we're going to go ahead and start with the interview. And so the first question is, if you had to describe yourself as a breakfast cereal, which one would it be and why?
Go ahead. I don't know. I don't know.
You can choose your breakfast food too.
Well, I don't know if you're gonna pick cereal. There's this really yummy cereal I like. It's called Raspberry Ginger.
Oh.
It's by Peace, so it's called Peace cereal.
Nice.
But I like it because it's kind of zany and tangy, and I don't know, and it's different. And I like things that are like kind of exotic and different, not that everybody else likes.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It has a good color combination, so visually it's also really appealing.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
You joked about it yesterday when we saw the question, but
Oh yeah.
grape nuts are really boring and not many people like them, but they're really good for you, and I actually really like them. So that's what I'm gonna choose.
That's awesome.
Not that a lot of people don't like me. I don't know. I just.
But you're good for people.
Yeah, I think so. But I may not be that cool or flashy, or kids might not like me. I don't know. That's
Cool.
it.
Yeah. Okay, well, the second thing is, how did you come up with the name for your organization, Light Gives Heat?
So, do you need a chance to I'm sorry.
Oh, either way.
It's gonna make it bad.
I like that.
So, Light Gives Heat was the name of a song by Jars Clay, like
okay.
7 years. I think it came out within the year that we had started. Kind of had this whole idea of Light Gives Heat. So, and it was a song about how so often we go to places like Africa and allow our light to shine and not theirs, and we're not good listeners. And we really early we realized, well, we don't know a whole lot. I mean, still 6 years into this, we would say we're still learning a ton, and we would never claim to have like the way to help people or know things that. I mean, I was just Africa and just learning some like really crucial stuff that I probably should have known 6-7 years ago when we started. And so anyway, Light Gives Heat was a song by Jars of Clay. And yeah, it kind of touched us and made us decide we want to be really good listeners.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we just asked them for permission, just
Oh,
for their
yeah.
graces, like, hey, we're gonna start this organization, and they're like, well, go for it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, well, the next one is, how did you guys think of making your documentary, like, moving on and just really being vulnerable about, like, your story and everything?
Yeah, I mean, well, we'd always wanted to do a movie. It was never supposed to be about our story or our lives necessarily. We wanted to do something, you know, that highlighted the people that we work with on the ground in Uganda, and it's something we've kind of been thinking about for a couple years. And then when the pieces fell in place with the right film crew, which is just an incredible story in itself, when we went over to Uganda for the first the first round of filming, really, in March of 2010. Yeah. As we put the cameras on our friends in Africa, they just started talking about us, and we realized that in order for us to be vulnerable and talk about how much we've been changed in the process, that we had to include our story too. So we decided to tell our story and their stories and how they have, you know, changed and affected each other.
That's so cool.
And then one of the key things we wanted to make sure of when we did the film was that, and why we were fairly vulnerable with our own story and just kind of the messy behind the scenes, was this fear that people would somehow watch a film like this and hold us up as they can do this, but that means I can't because of A, B, C, or D. And I mean, the reality is we have kids, we have college debt, we have kids running around, we barely have enough time or money or energy on any given day. We live in a small town in Colorado. There's nothing sexy about our life, and yet so often those are the reasons that people give for not doing big things with their lives, is they have this whole list. And so we wanted to say, well, if silly people like Dave and Morgan can do stuff like this, that means like, oh crap, that maybe means I have to, or I can. I don't have a reason like maybe I thought I did. So we wanted that to really come across in the film, is that we weren't some rock stars who had it all together, that we're messy people, and allow our behind the scenes to really be what's displayed in the film. So,
nice. Thank you. So the tagline for this documentary is a film about finding beauty in risk. Can you explain like what that means to you guys in a little
Yeah.
I mean, it probably, since it kind of tells the story of how Life Gives Heat got started, you know, I think that's a story in stepping out and risking in itself, you know, this idea of just feeling unsettled and feeling like you want to do something else with your life, but there's so much that's comfortable and predictable about where you are, and maybe, like Dave said, having kids and owning a home, and just that decision to step out and to take a risk, and to know that we may fail, or you know, we didn't really know what we were jumping into, but just listening to your gut and your heart, and realizing that life is short and we don't know how long we're going to be on this planet, so we better do something that we're passionate about and feel called to, and that makes us come alive, because there's a lot of people who are living that aren't really alive, and it's just sad that this world just needs people who are alive, and I don't know, so it's just, I think, about risking and allowing yourself to be vulnerable and enter the messy and the unknown, but there's beauty in that.
Yeah, and being willing to fail. I think that's the big thing for us too, is like, still today, this could all end next month. It really could. We're never more than like a month away from failing, and there's something beautiful about that risk. That wasn't a risk we took 6 years ago. It's a risk we're taking every day to continue on. And if we don't find beauty in that, then we're going to be always hoping that things are going to get easier and better one day. And the reality is this may be the good stuff. Like, this may be the hard, the muck. This may be the good. And so it may just be our eyes that need to be changed in the way we view this stuff. So anyway, we're just seeing there's beauty in risk.
This last season for us has been really just challenging. There's been so many times over the last year where we just felt like it was too much and wanted to find something that was more predictable and, you know, and safer, and I don't know. But just pressing in and realizing that there's beauty also in living in the tension of the unknown. That's just really been a huge lesson that we've been learning over and over, and took us a long time to actually get.
Yeah, we're still getting it, right.
You know, it was so much easier to just be in the pity party and be frustrated and, you know, but, yeah.
That's great. Like, just finding that, like, that's what it means to truly live. And yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so what does the term authenticity mean to you?
Authenticity. Well, for one, I would say it's one of those like gut checks for yourself to know. I think we all know. We had one of the filmmakers on the film. He would say, like, in any decision in his life, in any big things, small things, he would always stress that your heart will condemn you. Like you know, basically at the end of the day, like we have all these discussions about what's right and what's wrong and what you should do with your life, and he is just this firm believer in, like, your heart will condemn you. You know when things are right or when things are wrong, and I think at the end of the day, we all do know. I think so often it's fear that allow us to give us millions of reasons why not to do things or why to do things. At the end of the day, I think we all know. And so, I think being authentic is not only internally being authentic and living out that, but also being really, I think a vulnerability comes along with authenticity. That you're kind of tired of faking it, and you're kind of tired of acting like you're more put together. I think the more authentic I am, the more I realize how not put together I am. And yet in that, we still get to be used, which is crazy. Like, silly people like us get to be used for big, crazy, beautiful things. And I think living authentically, I think allows us to be more and more vulnerable with that, which in turn allows other people to know they can do.
No, I think that's what I was going to say too. Yeah, just that when you're just being true to who you are, and just know? There's just so much, and I think it's a slippery slope in it, especially with internet. It's so easy to maintain an appearance that you that you're more than you are, and I think so often, you know, with blogs and Facebook, like it's just really easy to compare what you know to be true about your behind the scenes to what you're seeing everybody else just post in perfect pictures and blogs and stuff, and it's just dangerous because that's never, you know, we were never meant to live in that comparison, and also just people putting forward their, like, you know, just wearing masks, and that doesn't do anybody good, any good in the world, any good either. And so just having that realness, and I think when, you know, we've had some conversations with companies and organizations in this last year that, you know, when we share how hard it has been for us and they share how hard it's been for them, and we're like, oh my gosh, I thought we were so abnormal and we were the only ones struggling, but to hear that, like, we're all in this together, and there's just a level of, like, camaraderie and support that you can engage in because you're being authentic.
That's so great. Yeah, it's just, like, more comforting. Yeah, that's true.
It gives permission. I think living authentically gives people permission to also live authentically. But the more we pose, the more we give people permission to pose as well, because we're all trying to one up. And but as soon as somebody has the guts to just say, "Hey, I am messy, and yet here I am," other people get to do that, which is so amazing. Yeah.
Wow, that really is. Yeah. So, can you share a time when you really felt like you were truly following your heart?
For the last 6 years,
I
would say honestly, I mean, not to say yay us, but truthfully, it has never been easy. We had a small season, maybe 2-3 years into it, where it was easier, where it was growing fast, and but the reality is it's been a hard road to do this, and so if we weren't really passionate about this and risking a lot always, there's no way we would still be here. So yeah.
And I would just say we always have to go back to, like, where is that? It's just easy, you know, emotions cloud so much, and it's so easy to give into, you know, the emotions of the days and the moments where it is difficult, but really to go back to, I think, what was the last thing in our heart that we knew to be true of where, you know, where we were called and what our mission was when we had clear vision, and just trying to make sure that we're always making decisions when we're at our best, not our worst, and going back to that truth of where we know truth is.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah. So every day, this would not be possible if we didn't stay really passionate and excited and always be dreaming and always being willing to stick it out even when it makes no sense at all.
Well, and I think that's the beauty too of having a partnership, you know. You know, obviously business, but also being a husband and wife, or, like, you know, because it's not every day. It's a choice, and I don't choose to have a good outlook every day, you know. But luckily too, when one of us is down, the other is, you know, there to encourage and shed light and bring truth, and vice versa.
That's great.
We laugh because this is like a daily thing.
Oh, that's so great.
Yesterday she was down, so I'm helping her.
Nice.
Or I'm down and she's, and it's silly over the years, but the reality is it takes that.
It just keeps you going because you're working together and have your house together.
Well, it's one thing
to
want to do something big with your life, and everybody wants. There's not a single person that doesn't want to do. That's very different than actually doing it, and it's very different to do it a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years into it, when it's not sexy and cool and fun, and, you know, it doesn't make headlines, and it's a whole different thing to be willing to continually show up when it's not fun anymore, or it doesn't even seem worth it most days, and we've seen that it is worth it, fortunately. This last trip I just took was amazing. It was incredible. I was blown away that, like I said before, silly people like us on silly little offices in small towns in Colorado get to impact whole communities halfway across. It doesn't make any sense. It blows me away that we get to do stuff like this.
But had we given in,
you never would have seen this.
That, you know, so And I think the other part too about is just having somebody, because it's so easy to feel alone, you know, when you're living, you know, trying to step out, trying to have, it's just, I feel like there's awesome people that we know, but not many that live in or that we've been connected. I'm sure, I mean, there's amazing people here in this town. I'm not saying that. Just saying that people that are like-minded, like-hearted, carry the same vision, and it just can get lonely, you know, and it feels at times like a heavy burden. And we know great people that are doing similar stuff, but they're in different pockets, you know, across the U.S. You know, just.
And without their encouragement over the years, we would be in trouble. Yeah. Without people who also run organizations like ours or trying big things with their lives, we probably would have been done a long time ago.
And just like challenging each other and being there for each other.
Right.
That's so great.
Yeah, it's one thing to have friends who don't understand a thing of what we're doing encourage us, and then it's a whole, and I don't mean that in a mean way, I just mean, and it's a whole other thing to know CEOs of companies who are trying to do something amazing with it, who have been in it for years, say one little thing, and you're like, okay, good, all right, good. That makes me like understand that you're in the same, and you encourage. Anyway, so
that's great. Yeah. Cool. Okay, well the next one, how do you define success?
We would have defined it very differently years ago, and on our bad days we define it. When I'm feeling jealous or feeling like other people are getting things that I wish we would get, those are different. I may not be able to answer this in the same way, but I think success is being able to enjoy what we do over the long haul and being a part and allowing that thing to be be something that's actually changing things. Do you?
Yeah, I would say too is having like a contentness with the mission and knowing that, I don't know, it's just success in the world's eye is one thing, and it means, you know, making more money, bringing in more revenue, doing more projects, and having more exposure, and, you know, getting recognized and celebrity backing, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like at one time that was, you know, what we wanted, and I think in a way I kind of feel like God's protected us from that, and taught us, you know, and sometimes it's been hard, that isn't what success is, and what we're getting to do, and what we're, and I mean that, like what we get to do is we get to show up and daily just be in the grind, and I think, you know, especially with Dave's last trip, getting to hear how amazing it is that 6 years into this we have relationships with these people that we would have never had we not, you know, stuck it out. And it's not super sexy and glamorous. It's not, we're, you know, I don't know. It's just showing up every week and offering an income, and it doesn't get a lot of press, but I think it is success. And so I don't know. I think, like, you're right. We would have defined it differently early on, and I think now we're starting to realize that if it doesn't grow, if it's these same 120 artisans, producers that we work with, that's enough.
Yeah, definitely. We're doing this 20 years, and I guess partly too is over the last couple of years financially it's been hard. Where every month we got paid a total of 3 months last year between her and I. Like, we're living, so we're okay. We're here. It's not like we're starving or nothing like that. But it's been a huge sacrifice. So at one point we had to say, well, either we quit or we better really enjoy what we're doing, because this may not get easier. It may not get better. We better enjoy it. And so I think that's partly what I think we would define success as well, as like to be able to have that big perspective that what we're doing is not only changing some stuff, but we actually enjoy it. That's hugely successful. I mean, that's not our goal, but that's successful. Like, we better enjoy this because it may not get easier.
Definitely. And then who inspires you and why?
Who inspires us?
You have a lot, I feel like.
Well, I mean, I read a lot. I have, like, in little pockets, people inspire me in the way they do things. But, you know, I don't know if I have, like, one single person. I've had a lot of respect for Jason Russell over this last year. from Invisible Children. We just had a couple emails back and forth this week before all that came out, and I mean, early on they inspired us, but yeah, just that encouragement that your behind the scenes can sometimes be as impactful as your highlight reel is huge. So that he's one. Who else? I mean, I read a lot of like Seth Godin, if you know who he is. He's an entrepreneur, business guy. I just
Johnny Cupcakes?
Johnny Cupcakes? Do you know who Johnny Cupcakes is?
No, we gotta look this up.
He'll be in Denver tomorrow night.
Fun.
So Johnny Cupcakes is a clothing brand, and it's
okay.
What's unique about what they do, I mean, they're shirts that cost like $50 a shirt, and but they're this very niche brand. But he brings like tons of fun and relationship in his brand. So his name is Johnny, and yeah, I mean, it's grown to, he has stores in London, Boston, 2 in Boston, 1 in LA, an online store that I think does probably as much or more than all those, and but just the creativity that he brings into a brand, that kind of stuff is fun. I think anybody who understands the long term, even in organizations like ours, it would be easy to be all about just the mission, and that may be good today, but what we've realized is what gets me excited, the fun things that we get to do are building a brand that people will trust years from now. So it's not, every decision we make isn't just based on how we get through this month, but or what helps people in Africa most this month or this year, but thinking, you know, the reality is they're going to still need jobs 5 years from now and 10 years from now. So we really need to build a brand that people trust. And so that kind of stuff, building something that people trust over the years is exciting and fun for me. And it's not as glamorous a lot of times, but they're the people who are still here 5 years from now and 10 years from now. So I don't know.
Honestly, I don't know. I kind of like, my inspiration comes like pretty much vicariously through Dave.
Nice.
I don't spend a ton of time on the internet, like catching up on, you know, blogs and people, or I don't know. So I feel like you get inspired and then he comes back and shares, and then I get to be inspired through him. Because
somebody else recently is Bob Goff.
Oh,
yeah,
we've
had a lot of good interaction with him and through his recent book, and
yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, and he's been really encouraging, and so that's cool. Yeah,
nice.
So he's another guy. Didn't mean to kick off, but that's another one that I realized that both of us in this year especially have been.
That's true.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I like the cover of his book with the balloons.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Book.
It's colorful.
And honestly, too, I think that I get inspired and encouraged by people who take the time to contact us and let us know, like, how Light Gives Heat has impacted them, or, you know, just to share.
Like that pushes us along as much as anything.
It just reminds us, oh my gosh, like, it's worth it, you know? Yeah, so that's always encouraging.
Probably the people we work with too. I don't mean to keep making this a longer answer, but like
in
this last in the last trip, in this one just a couple weeks ago to Uganda, the people we work with, it's so funny. Like, they've been learning the same things we have. Where every time I try to apologize or for not being able to do as much as we had hoped, like every week we continue to show up, and we've always offered jobs, but we always wish we could do more. And every time I tried to mention that, they'd always stop me on this last trip at all these different meetings and say, no, what you guys are doing is a big thing. We've learned to live with a lot, and we've learned to live with a little, and we're happy just to be here. Like, we're grateful. And these are people who are like, barely able to feed their kids on a given week, let alone anything else. And yet they're saying, no, they're not asking for more. They're not, putting a guilt trip. They're instead they're saying, don't feel bad for us. Don't tell the pity story. Don't tell the sob story of Africa. Don't tell the sob story of, women standing up saying, I'm sending 2 of my kids through university right now. I mean, they're living in 10 by 10 rooms with no electricity, and they're sending 2 kids through university. Wow. Like, they're saying, don't you dare feel sorry for us.
But it's the same lesson we've been learning. Like,
exactly. That's the crazy thing.
To have when we're on 2 incomes, and then this last year we've had to do it on part of 1, and it's like, we've just learned, and so it's crazy that that truly is, that they're inspiring to us and for like family.
Yeah, definitely. Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, where have you seen the power of connectedness in your life?
You mean like just people connecting? Is that what you mean?
People connecting. Yeah, just in general. and just realizing that we're not competing against each other, but we're a family, like of humans, and like it's not about competition and
Right.
things like that.
Do you have any?
I just think with maturity and growing up a little, we've been saying, like, I think as early on, I feel like we were more in that. I mean, it's sad, and I'm not, it's not healthy, that competition mode, or wanting to be like other people. But until we finally came to that realization, it was like, we're not trying to be invisible children. We're not trying to be this, but we just want to be a good Light Gives Heat. And what does that look like? And so I think part of it comes, as we're talking about authenticity and realness, it's learning to find that and know who you are, and then live that out. And then I would just say in the last couple of years, we've really just seen like the power of collaboration and connectedness, of just realizing that we are all on the same team. And again, going back to the internet, it's just, there's so much danger of so quickly being able to spout out a blog or a post or a response of attacking other people and other groups, and not realizing that we're on the same team, like making a bunch of assumptions and building stories in your heads about people or groups. And I just think that's sad. I think we have a long ways to go with I don't know, harnessing the power of the collaboration and the partnerships. But I think we're hopeful. I think in this last year we've really seen some great potentials, and we're working on trying to partner with a group in Asheville called Soulful.
Oh, nice.
So for 2013, we're working on how that's gonna look, but that'll be on the ground in Uganda. So we're excited about that. And honestly, like probably even a year ago, I don't know that we would have had the eyes to see that you could have two organizations with their missions and visions come together and share and collaborate, and not have it be threatening.
Yeah.
And I think that's continually, like, I've got, to release and not hold tight. I don't know.
Yeah, when you realize it's all a gift, like all that we get to do is just a gift, and you don't have to hold on to it so tight, because it's just a gift to begin with. So even the hard work that we do, that's still a gift. Even the stuff we feel like we're sacrificing, it's still a gift that we get to do this. And so when we view it like that on our good days, that's where you get to see really beautiful things happen. But when we're holding on to things tightly and we act like they're ours and we deserve it and we worked hard for it, that's when it's scary, and you're competing and you're I don't know, but it feels a lot like getting run over some days, or it feels like a lot like you aren't getting ahead, or it feels like and yet that's what it's okay. It has to feel like that some days. If So.
Nice.
Yeah.
So just one last question. What is one question you would love to ask people, and why? Just a general question.
I ran through 3 of them in my head right now. What is their biggest, maybe what's their biggest fear? And I don't want to be negative with it, but I think a lot of people know that they want to use their life for more. They have most people have a dream, and it'd be like a quick, easy thing for them to spout that out. But I think often the thing that allows them not to use their life for anything more is a fear, is whatever it is. And I think it would take a lot of people to even know what that is. A lot of times people don't even know what it is. Yeah, what's their biggest fear? What's holding them back from using their life for more? I'd be interested to know that. A lot of times, for us in America, it's just security.
Yeah,
that's all.
Definitely.
But letting people know that, I think, would be huge.
I mean, like, my challenge would be for somebody to take time to travel. Like, I don't know. I just think so much can happen in a person's heart, and when they go away from comfort and safety and just step out of their box to see the rest of the world and how people live. And I think that just changes so much. think people would live differently and more connected.
Mm-hmm.
We had, if they stepped out and had the interactions with other people. So I think mine would kind of be just a challenge to travel. And then my question, I guess, if I were to choose one, would be what, just kind of like Dave said, but a heart check kind of. Are you living alive? Like, do you feel alive inside? And and if not, why? Like, what's whispering in your heart? What are you suppressing? What aren't you listening to? What's calling you, but you're ignoring?
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. Do you guys have anything else you want to share or impart?
Impart.
Yeah.
Anything you have?
I don't know. It's just this journey. I'm
Okay.
totally not there yet.
Mhm.
We just keep learning as we go, and I feel like sometimes it's a few steps forward and a few steps back. But it's all, like Dave said, it's a gift and it's a journey, and it's very defining and humbling. And life-giving when we choose to let it be. So much is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would just say to not only give I think so often we don't give ourselves enough grace to know that we're messy people and we're not going to look like others, and yet in that we get to do stuff, like in that we get to keep moving, in that we get to keep being a part of really big things. I think people often count themselves out because they aren't put together enough, and that's just a lie. That's a lie. It's a lie we tell ourselves. And then for those who are further along, who are doing stuff, I would just say just to continually remember that that you're messy too, and that you're not put together, and you have to start somewhere. And it's really easy to count other people out or act like we have something that when we're put together than we really are, and we're just not. Typically we're better at hiding. That's all we get better at. I think that's it. I think we're excited that crazy people like us get to do big stuff like that we get the chance to do, and if we can do it, that means other people can too.
Definitely.
That's it, because there's nothing special about us whatsoever.
Thank you so much.
You're
special.
You're beautiful and special.
It's really an honor. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.